Dun 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 dun.
Da-na-na-na-na.
Da-na-na-na-na.
Na-na-na-na-na. Na-na-na-na-na-na.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Na-na.
Da-da.
Da. Da-na-na-na-na.
Da-da-da.
Da-na-na-na-na-na.
Da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da.
Da-na-na-na-na-na. Da-na.
Da-da.
Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na.
I thought we would know that well enough that that would be like perfect, but I think we both are just like so white and without rhythm that that was a nightmare.
We lost sync at one point and we didn't get back on track.
No. I thought maybe I would like try and sync our voices to the intro, but all I can picture is like Wolverine jumping into frame with his name and like looking at us like, what? Come on, guys. This is not the choreo. This does not sync.
Beast just shaking his head in dismay as the theme tune is butchered. Oh my.
It's times like this I envy Mozart.
As the great bard once said, and we've already moved on and we're butchering the next part of it, and he's like, wait, come back!
Oh boy. This summerish spring saw the release of on Disney Plus of X-Men 97, which was a hot commodity for us as two lifelong X-Men fans. You especially, as someone who holds the older X-Men show as like one of your Bibles. Like that's one of the like five big Martin things, I feel like.
Yeah, I think
And
I
I've
listed it as I believe I listed it as my favorite cartoon the last time we talked about it. And I think that's probably still true. It's certainly the one that I get the most rewatchability from.
It's a very rewatchable show. When I grew up mostly, I was in a weird zone where I actually mostly grew up on the X-Men movies and video games, the Bryan Singer trilogy, Thunderclash, for better or worse. But I think I think X-Men just has that really universal, strong appeal. Like, I I constantly feel like X-Men doesn't need to be part of the Marvel universe. And I
Yeah.
don't say that as like a shade on any other property or IP thing, whatever. It just feels like such a strong and like broad and thought out mythos and lore that it could be its own thing and completely stand on its own.
Absolutely, yeah. I have always thought the same thing, and I do say it as a shade to the rest of the Marvel universe. Fuck them.
Get the fuck out of here, Cloak and Dagger! No one asked you here.
As you say, it stands very well. It's got a broad enough cast of thousands that you don't really need it to interact with the rest of the Marvel universe, and this show does sort of. And so did the original show, sort of. But they don't overdo it. It's not a Spider-Man the Animated Series situation where
No.
there was just like John Semper just became obsessed with like the Iron Man this week, Ghost Rider the next, Blade, Doctor Strange, a War Machine, Dormammu. Like, no, why don't you use your own fucking characters? Calm down. Jesus Christ.
Fucking see, like, and I guess maybe we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. I don't mind the crossover so much. I think the point where you go too far is when Doctor Strange is there, just with the knowledge that he could snap his fingers and fix anything, you know? Like, Spider-Man is there, okay, fair enough. What's he gonna do? If Doctor Strange is helping, there's no reason we're struggling, honestly. X-Men 97. So we have a weird narrative with this show in that we were both dreading it because there were leaks going around and stuff that were kind of to the effect of, oh, I've seen, X-Men 97, it kind of looks like Marvel's What If. And
Yeah.
I sent that to you. Yeah. And we didn't see images at that time. It was just kind of a quote unquote insider, maybe a little bit full of shit, saying, it's 3D emulating 2D. It looks like the What If show. And
I think at that point I told you I was going to kill myself. that was my reaction to that news.
Absolutely right. I sent it over to you being kind of a stinker, like, oh, he's gonna love this, and you were like livid about it.
Well, they clearly heard me.
Yeah. And then the first trailer dropped, and we were like, like we kind of didn't want to admit it was looking better. I didn't want to admit it looked better than I expected, but I wasn't sold. The first trailer probably didn't make the best choices, I'd say, in what they showed off.
It looked a bit sort of jerky to me. Like the animation wasn't 100% finished, and it was a bit jumpy, and they were trying to... I was like, are they trying to make some sort of comment about what the animation was in the 90s? Because it wasn't as fluid.
Right.
And I don't know whether that was just my mind playing tricks on me, or my internet connection wasn't very good that day, because in the show itself, the animation is incredible.
Yeah. And I do think it's a weird gray area game where they have to I do think the appeal of how well the old show and Spider-Man have aged is that it's true the animation isn't super livid, but you accept it out of the fact that one, it was older products, lower budget, and two, it kind of helps in emulating a comic book look. Like you get these still images, you can kind of see a speech bubble on screen at any given time. And I think this show does a good job emulating that and also kind of expanding on it. I think the action scenes are better than they ever were.
Oh, yeah. And that original... They emulate that original style as well, which I didn't think they necessarily would do, but someone clearly looked at that old show and went, oh, well, this had a lot of shadows and a lot of dark lines, and it was quite sort of brightly colored, I want to say, and they very much did the same thing with this. It feels like it's the same universe and the same show, which of course it is, but I think my feeling was that it wouldn't feel like that it would be very tied to the MCU. They wouldn't. Yeah. It would be like X-Men the animated series in name only, where they do their own thing. They wouldn't really acknowledge the original show at all, and it would be in a completely different animation style. And they'd be like, "Yeah, people don't want that anymore." But that's not what they did.
Nice nanomachine suit, Wolverine.
And what a relief it is to have an X-Men show that looks like the X-Men. An X-Men product, I should say. All the X-Men shows have been pretty good. But
yeah.
The films have been a debacle for the most part. I think what a series of diminishing returns that franchise was.
I feel a little like I would take I would kind of, I would take the X-Men movies for what they are for the most part. I still haven't seen Dark Phoenix or Apocalypse. So if I ever saw those, no.
Really, Apocalypse I didn't think was as terrible as it was made out to be, but was still quite bad. Dark Phoenix, I went to see that. I couldn't tell you a single thing about it. I've never heard anyone talk about it. I'm convinced I'm the only person who saw Dark Phoenix, and even then, perhaps it was just a dream.
Well, and it's so bizarre how we've memory hold that two of the biggest that Apocalypse and Jean Grey were played by Sophie Turner and Oscar Isaac, and we've just fully memory hold that. Nobody talks about it.
Yeah, I have to remind myself that Oscar Isaac was Apocalypse. Like, if someone cast Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse, like now, I'd be like, oh wow.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, what? Was he? Are you sure?
Oh yeah.
That doesn't seem right.
I have a lot of love. I don't know, his First Class aged well. I love that movie personally. I think it's very cool.
I'd rank that as the best of them, yeah. I like First Class, Days of Future Past, The Wolverine, and
Yeah.
Logan. And
Mhm.
X-Men 2 is still good, actually. That's a good movie. The rest of them I could leave or take. The first X-Men one I'm kind of nostalgic for.
I love that. I wish I didn't love. I know it's stupid, but like it just does have that like dump out your toy chest and slam Storm against Toad and just see what happens.
Yeah.
Feeling to it. Yeah.
It's such great casting, those films as well. So that's sort of it makes up for a lot of their faults. I think they generally get that casting pretty spot on.
Yeah, I guess speaking of casting and swerving back to 97, I wanted to ask you, since you're a lot closer to the old X-Men show than I am. I know a couple characters have been recast, maybe some actors weren't available or passed away. Can you tell me with some authority who is still in X-Men 97 from the old cartoon?
I'd be delighted, because I looked this up earlier to make sure I'd got it right. So I can't remember all the actors' names, so I apologize in advance. But the characters who are voiced by the same voice actors are Wolverine, Rogue, Mr. Sinister, Beast. Is that it? Storm, yes, of course. And then the other voice actors who return but play different characters are Gambit's voice actor plays Cable. Gambit's original voice actor plays Cable. Morph's voice actor plays President Kelly. Jean's voice actor plays, for the life of me, I can't remember her name. The human woman with the glasses who ultimately helps Magneto. And
she double up? I thought she was like Jubilee's video game avatar or something, too.
Oh, no, that's the other one. Jubilee's video game avatar is Jubilee's original voice actress.
In addition to the lady with the glasses?
No, Lady with the Glasses is Jean's original voice actor.
Oh, sorry, I must have... Okay, sorry, I got my J's confused. My bad.
But yeah, that is all of them, I believe. I think Magneto and Professor X's voice actors had passed away. And Apocalypse.
I suspected. Well. Yes, I suspected Magneto was the same guy because I think whoever is doing his double is doing an amazing job.
Oh yeah, he was fantastic. Like I had to double check. I was like, did that guy die? Is he back?
Yeah.
Amazing likenesses.
And Ray Chase is Cyclops. Did you mention? Maybe you mentioned this. What's the status of his old voice?
He sadly passed away as well.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. The people. I mean, it's pretty seamless. I was never like, oh, that's not this person. I'd say like the big standout for me is probably Storm. I don't know the actor's name. I'll put it up on screen here when I edit this. But I think she does such an amazing job because Storm is always in that cadence of speaking, like she's a goddess, befitting her background. But even for like really intimate moments, she doesn't drop that, but it never comes off as like corny or preachy. She just like carries herself so regally and so reverently. And, she gets a lot of downtime and intimate moments in this where she's not always the Omega level threat out there fighting. And I just think her actor sells that so well, even all these years later.
Yeah, she was she could be really corny and a bit sort of cringy, I think, the Storm voice actress, if they'd done it wrong. But she's so, like, you just sort of cheer her on. She's very inspiring. I think the overly dramatic way, there's lightning, heed my call, could be terrible in, like, the wrong hands, but she delivers everything really well.
Mm-hmm. And just like knowing her background as someone worshipped as a deity, it just like you just don't really question it. That's just constantly how she carries herself, and it never comes off as like she's full of herself. She backs it up. She is fucking Storm. She's an Omega level threat, as the Sentinels put it.
Yeah. I was just going to mention who else was I about to mention? Everyone. Everyone else is also good. I was going to try and single somebody out. Yeah, I think none of them have really lost a step, though, have they? Everyone is so good. I like I assume they put a bit more effect on Mr. Sinister's voice because his voice actor is a bit older, perhaps. But I really like the effect that they put on him. Like, they've sort of amped up that weird, hollow, metallic sound. And it really works.
Absolutely. I thought, and as far Bastion's voice actor is really good as well. He sells some. I have some weird thoughts. I'm kind of all over the place with Bastion in general. I think his voice actor is sensational.
Yeah, he does a fantastic job. It's Theo James, who he was recently just in The Bad Batch as well as the villain of that show. And I was like, I'm sure I know this guy's voice from somewhere. And I was watching those episodes back to back because they both came out at the same time. And I was like, oh, it's the same guy. So I went from like his death in The Bad Batch to his intro in X-Men, which was weird.
Right. He just got reincarnated as Bastion.
Fell off a bridge and turned up in the Marvel Universe, yes.
Yeah. And Bastion, I'm aware of him in wider X-Men canon. I don't think he was in the old show, right? Or am I forgetting?
No. Well, he was introduced in 96, 97, so he would not have been in time for the old show. So he is the perfect villain for this, because he was the big 97 villain of that era.
Yes. How do you think? I wanted to ask you, what do you think of him in this show? Because like I said, I'm kind of on the fence about it.
I did really enjoy him. I'm okay with him in the comics. He's not like one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
But I do think if you're going to use the Sentinels, then giving the Sentinels like a human face, or at least a semi-human face, is a good idea. Like giving them some sort of leader, other than just bringing back Master Mold's disembodied head for like the fourth time.
Oh yeah.
Is a smart move. And I think making the Sentinels and humans in general the big villains of the comeback, like the first season of the big comeback of X-Men, was a sensible idea, because that's ultimately they're always going to be like the big thematic threat is just going to be just shitty human people who are with their biases. And you've got Mr. Sinister in there as well as like the supporting villain. But he's just in there to, as he says, just hold, I can't remember the exact line, but he's just like, my dream is just holding cells full of mutants that I can experiment on. So that's his stakes in it, because he's described also as the most evil man who ever lived by one of the other characters. So on the one hand, you've got Sinister just doing it because that's what he does, and he's just not a nice person. And then you have Bastion, who has like the loftier, the more I'm doing it for the good of humanity, and Mr. Sinister's I am not. I'm just here for the ride. So I thought he was a good choice of villain.
Yeah. See, and I agree with everything. I guess my only reservation, and this isn't me being like, oh, fuck this, I'm interested to talk this out, is that I just feel a little like, I just feel a little like the show, and kind of hung its hat on the really sympathetic aspects of its villains. Like, I think X-Men as a whole really wanted to kind of stand as, well, no one's, truly, unless you're Mr. Sinister, no one's truly born evil. The kind of villains of our show are often placed in circumstance. I think that plays into Magneto and kind of sort of Boulevard Trask, and they play it up with Bastion a lot. There's really sympathetic elements to him that you don't always see because the Sentinels are so consistently just a symbol for small-minded hate. And I thought it's not that I like hated it on sight. I just thought they got a little lost in the weeds of making Bastion a little more sympathetic than usual. There's a lot of stuff with like his mom and like the X-Men trying to reach out to him. He can't help that he was born the Sentinel baby, as it were. And I found myself just feeling a little like I just didn't feel they fully stuck the landing with that.
I guess he's meant to be a little sympathetic, but not that sympathetic, because he does cause a genocide.
Yes.
So if that's why it feels a little like they didn't go all the way with it to you. Yeah. I guess he's such an awful character when you look back on his deeds, that it was probably pointless to even try and give him any sympathetic qualities.
That's the thing. Yeah, I'm kind of like, okay, we've got like, and I do think there's like hints of modern radicalization language they fit into, because he talks about, humans will be going on dial-up chat rooms and getting radicalized. So he's a lot of things, and on top of that, there's like moments right before he dies towards the end that the X-Men are like, oh, what if you could change Hitler, And I was a little like, I don't know. I got a lot of modern villain sensibility out of like how he just like the small detail that he loves the one-eyed, one-horned, giant purple people eater song, and he plays it as he tinkers in his lab. That just struck me as very like, how can we humanize this awful monster? And I love I love when a villain just has like a small hobby like that humanizes them a bit. And I feel I wanted more of that than, oh, my mother, and oh, how I was born, all that jazz.
Yeah, I guess he's it's difficult to do with X-Men, I think, sometimes. Even with Magneto, it's behold, Magneto has been wronged, and then it's like, behold, Magneto has nearly destroyed the entire planet. I think they go back and forth. They want to have their cake and they'll eat it too. So it's like, this, they're just a victim of circumstance and the world that has raised them. But also they've massacred millions. And it is hard.
I was going to ask you about that, because again, and I'm reluctant to, because I think the show as a whole is just so well executed that that I just don't have like that even decisions that I'm a little like, oh, I wouldn't have done that, I kind of just roll with. Like, and I felt largely that way about Magneto swapping back and forth a lot, where I was kind of on board for just a fully good Magneto. I know for at least stretches of the comics that happens. So when they, and reasonably, I'm not saying it's for no reason, he kind of flips over again. I was a little like, oh, that seems almost a little cheap to me to be going back so, so flip-floppy.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I kind of thought a bit along the same lines, because I was like, oh, eventually he's just gonna, he's gonna turn again, and we're gonna get like a more villainous Magneto again, and then it'll go back again, because that was often but to its credit, the original show doesn't do that very often. You get one season where Magneto is the villain, and after that he's firmly sort of anti-hero, occasional reluctant ally. Like, he's never a bad guy again. And that's what they do here. But then towards the end, I did think, oh, Jesus, it's really like, it's kicking off.
Right.
Like, you've reversed the polarity of the fucking planet, and
Mhm.
and millions of potentially deads. Like
Oh yeah.
that's a big step. Like,
If you put, because he more or less cut out the electrical power to the world,
yeah.
meaning everybody in every hospital is just gone.
Well, yeah, like it was. I think. Do they do some? Is there a comic where Magneto does something similar as well? Or it might be in some of the Ultimate comics where Magneto like reverses the magnetic fields of the Earth, and he's like causing tidal
Yeah.
waves and things, and it's things get really bad. And
Hmm.
I thought we might see more scenes of devastation like that, but I guess the implication, like you say, is just when the power went out, that was bad
Yeah.
for a lot of people. That caused a lot
And
of chaos. Not necessarily that Magneto killed everybody by doing that, but like there were a lot of consequences to what he did.
absolutely. And it seems a little like they were reluctant. The consequences were, uh-oh, Omega Red's gonna have to fight these robots now, and not so much. What about people that were on life support in like an emergency room? Magneto, come on.
Yeah.
And I was a little disappointed that they didn't necessarily hold him accountable, because everyone was echoing, the lady goes, Magneto was right when she frees him, and everyone was echoing that.
Mhm.
But there's just like, it becomes way more loaded to discuss that when you hoist that hand in hand with Magneto has the power to hurtle the Earth into the sun if he wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, we don't see much of the aftermath, I guess, of what happens there. So I definitely feel like there's a place in season 2 for like a conversation between Magneto and Xavier, or Magneto and Rogue, or something about what he did and what the consequences of that
Yeah,
are. And maybe he'll come back and he'll have to stand trial again. And I'll be like,
again.
this time we're going to do the trial. We're going to properly do the trial this time. Please
Man,
don't hurl the courtroom into the sun again. We just want to do a proper trial, sir.
yeah. And they seem to be leaving the breadcrumbs for like more kind of a new brotherhood. Emma Frost very pointedly survived the attack, and I could kind of see her and Magneto kind of joining up in response, if they're not jumping to good Emma Frost so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I do like. I have to say, I do much prefer good Emma Frost,
Mhm.
or semi-good Emma Frost.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely picked up on. Oh, they've let Emma Frost survive. Sebastian Shaw brutally murdered. Like after 2 seconds, I was like, oh, thank God, I'm not going to have to sit through another fucking Hellfire episode.
As he should be. Get out of here.
Get the fuck out of here. I can't be doing. There's certain X-Men things that whenever they come up, I'm like, oh, we're gonna have to do this story again. And it's always the Phoenix, the Hellfire Club.
I think we're past. And now that you mention it, they'll probably have Emma Frost stir the pot with Scott a little. I could see her, doing some flirting, and that kind of adds to the whole Jean Madeline Pryor corner of the soap opera going on.
Yeah, well, if they get to, I mean, ultimately in the comics, you get an Emma Frost and Cyclops romance.
Yeah.
But that was like 2000 and early 2000s, I want to say. So maybe if the show, if it sticks to like, let's do one big thing each year, like the Bastion stuff was like 97, 98. So they've sort of lined that up. So I wonder what'll come after that.
So I guess they were hinting at Apocalypse next.
Yeah. I'm all for do an entire Age of Apocalypse season is what I want.
Yeah.
And I don't think that'll be next season, but I could see them doing that at some point in the future. That would be a fun season.
Absolutely. I'm not the biggest fan of Apocalypse personally, but like these writers have proven themselves that they can take stuff that maybe hasn't always worked for me and play around with it in some cool ways.
Yeah, there's I know you are, I think you drew a comparison to like Apocalypse from I can't remember exactly what it was you said now, but you were like comparing him to like the weighty philosophical villainy of like Magneto. And then it's like Apocalypse shows up and he just shoots people with his laser hands. And that's what he does. Which I don't think it's 100% correct, but
I'm sure it's a reductive comparison, but I can't help but roll my eyes a little at Apocalypse sometimes, most of the time.
He's more cartoonish than most of the others, I would say. I think you have to use him well, and you need to make him like. There's a lot of stuff you can do with that makes him interesting, and it looks as though that's what they're doing next time. Like we're getting flashbacks to Apocalypse in the past and how he became Apocalypse or whatever, or what his role is going to be in the future. The X-Men gone.
Yeah. Like he has some cool, because he's like what, the first mutant, I think, is like kind of the main idea, the elevator pitch of him.
That's right, yeah. So I guess that's what we are getting next time.
Yeah. Man, I guess kind of off that, and then Mr. Sinister went on Ozempic, and he's skinny and sickly, and he'll probably be involved.
Well, I had my Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister, notably my favorite character. And he, in the comics, Sinister he gets his powers from Apocalypse. In this show, he did it all himself. So I wonder if next season, now that he's been like stripped of all that DNA that he stole and that he modified himself with, Apocalypse will like rejuvenate him back into his old self, and that will sort of be the impetus for Sinister plotting against Apocalypse, which is always kind of his big goal in the early days of the comics. That's why he wanted to create Cable, and that's why he was always trying to like get Cyclops and Jean's DNA. Because that was going to create the mutant powerful enough to destroy Apocalypse. So they took that away from him, I guess, because they couldn't use that as his motivation, because the original series did a whole episode where Apocalypse had nothing to do with Sinister's creation. And they'd even worked together before. So I'm thinking they will try and like retroactively do the Apocalypse link to Sinister and use them in that way. I may be wrong.
Well, they work together, at least in the old show. Maybe I'm like creating fake memories based on how they work together in the comics and stuff.
Yeah, they were in the Beyond Good and Evil 4-part episode. They worked together.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. Okay. And then that kind of, and you know a little more about Madeline Pryor, I think, than I do. Does she fit into this somewhere? What are the tea leaves there?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me, because it's so confusing. I believe it's we get our Madeline Pryor episode in episode 3. Which like it barrels through all the Madeline Pryor stuff.
A lot of people I saw on Twitter were like, "This is like a good episode," but also they like speed through a lot here.
I was fine with it because I think the Madeline Pryor stuff is so confusing that we don't need to dwell on it. I think just having Mr. Sinister say, "I swapped Jean out at some point with this clone, and the real Jean is now back." That's fine. That's all I want. I don't need all the other stuff because it's Sinister does still create her in the comics, I think. Does he? Oh God. There's a Madeline. Basically, in the comics, Jean dies, and then Scott meets someone called Madeline Pryor. So there's not a switch. Like he's not tricked. And he's like, "Hey, this Madeline Pryor really looks like Jean," and then like he has a relationship with Madeline Pryor, and then that goes on for a while. Madeline gets possessed by a like limbo demon during this big Inferno crossover event thing, where like the demons are all unleashed upon the world, and then that's when she starts calling herself the Goblin Queen, because there's loads of goblins being unleashed from hell or whatever it is. Limbo?
Oh.
Something. So then she goes back to Sinister and like becomes Sinister's henchwoman. And he did create Madeline, I'm pretty sure. This might be
Okay.
retroactively done as well. I haven't read these for a while, so I apologize to anyone listening if I've gotten this completely wrong. Look it up yourselves. Um, and then it more or less plays out the same. They have like a battle with Madeline and Sinister. Sinister is presumed killed, and Madeline survives, I believe, because she's still around in the comics. Um, so she doesn't die in any sort of Genosha massacre, but she is still Cable's mother, and is effectively she is a clone of Jean. So yes, some of that
Yeah.
is accurate.
See, like I can see how they wanted to streamline that. I just by the sound of it, I guess the only thing is that sounds like it still makes a little more sense than at some point your Gene stopped being Gene. I don't know what to tell you, but because is it even that specific? Like, can you pinpoint which episode Jean gets swapped with Madeline, or is it just kind of like at some point? I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Sinister kidnaps Jean and Cyclops 3 times. So
Yeah.
it was either the first episode of season 2, the last episode of season 2, or the Beyond Good and Evil episode in season 4, which I'm going to say that's when it happened, because Sinister like definitively gets Jean on her own then and takes her through the portal to Apocalypse's like sanctum. And then I think during that time he could quite easily have just switched like his genes out while Apocalypse wasn't looking. So that's what I sort of
Makes the most sense. And that seems like, late in the game, but not like if it happened in season 2, that's a little like, oh, what the fuck? Like
Yeah,
that recontextualizes a lot. That seems like it makes the most sense.
Yeah, there's only a couple of episodes after that, so it's fine. It didn't even it's like 1 year without the real Gene. That's fine.
Yeah.
I love how Beast just reveals it off the top of his head. When it's like, there's no subtle. Oh my god, this woman is a Jane! And it's like she's literally sitting in the room with him.
Oh my. Known for his, known for summing it up, not known for subtlety. You'd be surprised. That Beast.
Yeah, it's like, could I have a quiet word with you? But he just blurts it out.
The Madeline Pryor episode and kind of the Professor X trial episode and kind of the video game one were kind of the and now for something a little different episodes that were a little all over the place. Because I'd say just about every other episode is a pretty streamlined coverage of the attack on is it Genosha? I almost said the
Genosha.
Savage Lands. The attack on Genosha and the aftermath of it. But then there's also a few kind of and I guess kind of sort of Storm and Forge. I guess there's a lot going on. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the original show ends with it saddled them with Professor X in space, and they had to do something about it, because I don't think nobody in their right mind would want to do the Shi'ar Empire in the first season of their X-Men.
No.
Oh God, we've got to do that. Got to explain how he gets back, for God's sake.
Yeah, I can't blame. That is kind of the thing where it's like I can't blame anyone for being mad at Xavier for faking his death so he can go clap alien cheeks. I don't know what
I don't think
kind
he
of
faked his death. Like, he just left at the end, didn't he? And then the X-Men told people he'd been killed. It's like, maybe you just shouldn't have said nothing.
Yeah, just say you're going on vacation. Don't say where.
People are angry with Professor Xavier, and it's like, he's not been gone that long. Like, he was literally shot and nearly killed, and then I didn't want to leave you in charge, Scott, because I wanted you to have a family life. Yeah, well, fuck you. Like, leave the man alone. I'll leave Magneto in charge, and it will help to mend fences with my dear students and my best friend. No, fuck you. I don't think he meant that. God.
Golly. Yeah, a lot of people talking about Cyclops getting kind of a glow up, which in that just he gets a lot more focus and a little more drama here. I think one of my favorite parts is where he's on that news interview and it kind of just strikes me like he's having just a rough fucking day and he's like, we could kill you, right? Like you're the ones fucking pushing. Just slow down. Just seems like he's just like had enough, and I liked when he just owned humanity for a moment there.
Yeah, I think they used him really well. It was a testament to not always just focusing on Wolverine, who, and I dearly love Wolverine, particularly in this show, but a lot of the original show, like particularly the sort of latter seasons, became very Wolverine dominated, and the movies I think speak for themselves. They were just like the Hugh Jackman show, and again, Hugh Jackman is great, but like there are other characters, and I feel like Cyclops was used well in the original show. He wasn't overlooked, but I think this show gave everyone a more even distribution of screen time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I sometimes bristle a little at like people being like, "Oh, Wolverine works better as a side character." I think he has like there's a reason that he tends to be front and center, but it does need to be within reason, as you put. I think he's used perfectly well here. I don't think there's a single episode of this show that you could say is necessarily a Wolverine focus, but when he does contribute, it makes sense and it's constructive. I think a lot about his fight with Magneto, and they do the kind of famous shot of his skeleton getting manipulated through his flesh, and how a lot of people were like, "Oh, why would you have Wolverine fight Magneto when it's so?" But it's also like, I think what people are forgetting is that, and I think what Charles is aware of, is that Wolverine is like the only person with the guts to, put a blade through Magneto if he has to, which he does, like it's not a matter of how weak is he against Wolverine. It's a matter of, would any of you kill Magneto if you needed to? And Wolverine's the only one who does not avert his gaze from that notion.
Yeah. And he's fought Magneto plenty of times in the past, so you could say that about every X-Men comic ever. Why is Wolverine on the team if Magneto's getting metal? Well, that then we'd have no one on the team, would we? It's like, fucking Magneto can do pretty much anything. It's fine.
It is what I always say about Magneto is that when he was first invented, it's like, okay, he can control metal. That's plenty powerful, but it's not like all-encompassing. And the more we learn about properties of metal, the more we realize there's virtually no earthly substance that doesn't have some trace amount of metal. And we've hit a point where if we realistically acknowledge Magneto's full power, he could manipulate the trace amounts of iron in any human being's blood. So really anyone is equally fucked against him.
Yeah, I always think back to there's like an Age of Apocalypse issue where Magneto he's confronted by a guard and he just makes the guard pass out by getting all the iron in their blood to pass to their brain and give them just make them faint. And it's like, yeah, he can do anything really, can't he? He's just.
I think there's a point in the comics where it's like Storm can manipulate the electrical currents in somebody's brain to kill them. And we've come a long way from, she throws lightning. No, these are, we're just at a point where we have to fully acknowledge that the reason Wolverine and Cyclops are necessary is that it would be way too easy if we didn't have Laser Guy and Claw Guy. Just make it happen.
That's what he's teaching them at that school, how to fucking kill someone with your powers.
Yeah.
Professor, I can summon a lightning storm. Very good, Storm. But wouldn't you prefer to summon a lightning storm inside a man's mind? No.
What?
I don't think. Is that the best use of our powers? Fucking kill them, Storm. If someone makes a
Rogue is right. It's like taking notes feverishly. It's the okay, kill. Man, that's so. Blame Rogue for going murder mode because she lost a lot that day. I do feel a little like when push came to shove and everyone was against Magneto and the world was at stake, they were awfully forgiving of her. Wouldn't you agree?
um, yeah. But, having said that, I would also have sided with Magneto. And
Yeah.
I would have left on Magneto's asteroid fortress and be like, "Yeah, sorry, I'm done." Like, we've been doing this for 7 years. We're no further forward with any of our goals. I think we just need to go and live in space with Magneto.
Yeah. So Rogue is the one who like pretty frequently tends like waffles into well, she was raised by Mystique also is what, but she waffles a whole lot.
Yeah, we get. Oh, sorry, I just got one of the tassels of my hoodie wrapped around my microphone.
Oh, you're okay.
I have a pointed question for you in particular off the back of this.
Sure.
Your favorite X-Man, I believe, is Gambit.
I feel like there's been a time in my life as an X-Men fan where every X-Man has been my favorite. But Gambit is no small part of that. He fucking rules. I like him a lot. What
did you think of Gambit's role in this, and indeed Gambit's death in this?
Gosh, I took it pretty hard, but like, because I remember the day that like shortly after that episode aired, we were talking about it, and you were like, "There's no way, You correctly called Magneto's not dead. He's fine." I feel a little like if anyone was going to be the sacrificial lamb, Gambit kind of makes the most sense in that. I feel removing him is. I'm having a hard time articulating this. It creates like the most potential impact on, say, Rogue. It's not like, golly.
I know what you mean. It's almost like you need a character who has some sort of emotional tie to someone else in the group, but you also need someone who's perhaps doesn't have as many ties to the other characters. Like, do you know what I mean?
Like if they killed Beast, I feel like everyone would be sad, but no one would go murder mode. I hate to admit that. As much as I love Beast.
Yeah.
Whereas Gambit is someone, and you know what? If Beast died, it's kind of like, well, he lived a good life. He learned his lessons. He was like a spry 50. That's old for a mutant. Gambit is like, I'm gonna retire tomorrow and believe you me, shit. Like, he is the guy who's gonna, isn't quite done growing yet. Gambit, I feel like still had growth to do. He was a good guy at this point, but he was a little immature and a little petty. And you had a feeling that if he had 10 more years, he could be, at the same point as not maybe Science. He could be a little more well-realized. And I feel it had to be someone who was cut short in that way for the tragedy to weigh out. Am I making sense with that?
Yes, I think so. Like, it feels like he's still in the middle of his story arc, doesn't it? Like, we've got more to go with Gambit. And I guess we have anyway, because he's obviously going to be brought back.
No one really stays dead in these.
Yeah, but they did a good job of convincing us that was the end, though, because like he dies halfway through the season. There's a lot of consequences to his death, and we only get some sort of hint that he might be back in the post-credits sequence. So
super nerdy corner that I want to talk about. No small part of my history with X-Men, like I said, is the video games, especially the Capcom fighting games. And, those still have a very developed competitive content creator scene. And during Gambit's funeral, there's like that small group of Bayou thieves that came out to pay their respect. Some of some of his old crew from the Bayou,
Yeah.
and there's one guy in particular with long blonde hair and some facial scruff who looks exactly like a really popular Marvel vs. Capcom esports champion named Maximilian, who historically mains Gambit. And and a lot of people were adding that up, that it seems almost too much of coincidence that there's someone paying their respects to Gambit who looks exactly like someone famous for picking Gambit in the competitive scene. Maybe we were reaching, but a lot of people were kind of pointing that out.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Has that been officially confirmed anywhere?
Not see. There's official confirmation that some of the fighting storyboards had nods to the character. Like Rogue at one point does a kick that is exactly from Marvel vs. Capcom, and I think they said Cyclops at some point mimics that. So they were aware of that corner of the culture. I don't know if necessarily they've gone out of their way to confirm that they drew in this content creator for Gambit, but a lot of people had fun noticing that at the very least.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of moments when I was watching this where I thought these are people who know the characters and know the comics and know the original show. So I certainly would not put it past them that those things were deliberate references.
I feel a little like almost as if we just have to run down every character we haven't mentioned yet. Like how they're like Morph gets kind of their flowers in that they do more than die in this show. And there's a really neat there's kind of a neat aspect they do with Morph in that they are constantly shapeshifting into other Marvel and X-Men characters and mimicking their powers, which kind of should arguably make Morph the strongest character ever because they can do anything and they turn into Hulk and Sabretooth and Spiral. But I think it's a good way to just like spice up some fight scenes and kind of pay lip service to, we couldn't fit Juggernaut into the actual season, but we're going to draw him for you anyway. Thanks, Morph.
Yeah, it's a fun way to work in a lot of cameos, isn't it? And I think they said that Morph can just replicate the physical abilities, but not their mutant powers. So he can morph into somebody. Sorry, they can morph into somebody who has like super strength, but they cannot acquire like Wolverine's healing ability, so to speak.
So, like, if he becomes Sabretooth, he probably gets like about the like even strength and maybe the senses, but not like healing that comes with it.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. Anything apparent by looking at them, but not so much their extra perks and paraphernalia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is confusing, but I guess that's the only way that it could work. Potential, well, not potential, I believe Bodemayo, as we said, confirmed it. Morph is secretly in love with Wolverine.
Pretty much makes all the sense in the world. One of my favorite little moments is early on. Logan is kind of having one of his angst sections. He's up in a tree, and Morph's trying to get his attention. I do like the idea that Morph relies so much on shape-shifting because they are kind of searching for ways to kind of bring something out of Logan. I wonder if there's a small element there where it's like, if Logan doesn't feel this way about me like this, maybe he will like this or like this. I think there's a lot of really fun layers there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is prime material for expansion. And there was like a really solid connection between Wolverine and Morph in the original show. Like they were the best of friends, and Wolverine was very devastated when Morph died, supposedly. So yeah, they built on what was already there. I don't think it will end with any kind of relationship. I think Morph is doomed to be disappointed because Wolverine only has eyes for Jean. Jean! Nobody screamed Jean in this. I noticed. Oh no, Cyclops does it like once towards the end. It's
Yeah.
one big Jean, but
Jane!
everybody's always screaming Jean. So it's Hugh Jackman in the movies, and it was Cyclops in the original show.
Yeah. It is one of my favorite angst tropes that really pulls at my heartstrings is the jilted shapeshifter who's like, I can be anything you want, and I could so see Morph turning into Jean, and Logan is like kind of horrified, and Morph kind of realizes they've gone too far. You don't have to pay me for that one, Bo DeMayo. I'm sure you've got that one in the can already. I don't know.
But we do
Yeah,
get a quite a notable. Speaking of Wolverine and Jean, we get a notable like Wolverine and Jean moment in this where she kisses Wolverine, and Wolverine like just dismisses it and walks away, which I thought was a really nice little evolution of his character. Like season 1 Wolverine wouldn't have cared. Like he would have just been like,
Sorry,
okay,
Bob. You're gonna have to understand.
she's my woman
I
now,
love the way-
Cyclops. Like he wouldn't have
I love the way he
hesitated.
phrases it. The line stuck with me of, you forgot the rules. Like, hey, we're just going to pretend that didn't happen, all right? Seems very Wolverine of him to be like, you know what? I've been alive for multiple centuries and killed a lot of people. If I can pretend that didn't happen, we're going to just, like, walk past this.
Yeah, and it's a very good expansion, a very good development of his relationship with Jean. I think that he accepts that she's with Cyclops now. Like he's not 100% happy about it, but like when he'll go along with it and he'll keep his peace about the whole thing. Whereas he was much less inclined to do that before, like season 2, where rather than go to the wedding, he just like storms off somewhere. But then you get to like season 4 and he is back at the wedding, but he's just a bit sort of grumpy. And then in this, he's like, he's more understanding about the whole thing. So it's a slow evolution of Wolverine's complicated feelings.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think we know in the future, they're in the distant future, he ends up with Storm, doesn't he? So they kind of have that place marker to work toward, regardless of Jean or Morph or Madeline drama. It's probably a bit of a relief to be like, we know we don't have to necessarily make a ton of decisions because we know where he's headed.
Yeah, I think that's like a potential future, isn't it? It's not the be all end all future for him, but
okay, all right.
The possibility is there. I guess that's how that 2-part episode ends with, maybe at some point.
Right.
But they've really played up Storm and Forge romance in this season.
Yes.
More Forge than we have ever really got before as well.
Oh yeah. Which, I found myself tuning out a tiny bit during, but it's cool when they fight like Deem Dreamins.
Deem Dreamins?
It's always just cool. Yeah.
Did you mean Dream Demons?
What did I say? Did I say Deem Dreamins?
Deem Dreamins. For a moment, my brain went, is that the character's name? They just swapped it around.
Oopsie.
Behold, it is I, Deem Dreamins.
That sounds like a congressman who is kind of alongside Senator Kelly and is secretly funding a weird line of Sentinel.
There's nothing to be worried about. It's just my good colleague, Senator Deem Dreamins. He's a perfectly trustworthy man.
Tell me where Dreamins is, damn it. I know you're holding Dreamins in your lab, Sinister.
The only man with the more obviously evil name than Mr. Sinister is Deem Dreamins. Even I would not be so unsubtle. Who else have
I guess you pretty... Oh, sorry.
Who else haven't we? We didn't mention Jubilee.
We literally haven't mentioned poor Sunspot. There's so much going on in this show. Oh boy. His stuff was pretty cool. I guess you do need kind of a POV character to be new to all of this. and that was Jubilee before. So they introduced Sunspot to be kind of Jubilee's Jubilee in this new show.
Yeah, I liked that.
Um,
It showed how
yeah.
Jubilee had matured. And I have to say, I did. I know people found this to be a bit of a throwaway episode, but I loved the Mojo episode because I love a Mojo episode. I really enjoy Mojo as a character. I'm always happy when he shows up.
It was a good way to incorporate that kind of weirder corner of X-Men stuff where there is just this TV mogul alien who kind of plays with the fourth wall a bit.
Yeah.
Dazzler name dropped because she's probably going to be in the new Deadpool movie. That was all. And a lot of, for my geeky ass, a lot of good references to some of the X-Men games I've grown up with. They pay a lot of lip service to the 2D beat 'em ups and the fighting games in that episode. I thought that was super fun.
Yeah, I love that Magneto boss fight that she has, and she's trying to like figure out the rules to beat him. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Beast doesn't get a huge amount to do in this, but they tease a potential romance for him with the journalist character.
Right. I'm a little disappointed they haven't. Do we know what happened with his love interest from Beauty and the Beast? Do we know? Did they just kind of drop that?
Yeah, we never saw her again, did we? I was hoping that they might go back to her at some point, but they never did. And his journalist love interest in this turns out to be a Sentinel. Leading to one of my favorite lines of the show, where like Wolverine is like thrown through a wall. And he's just like, I gotta talk to Hank about his taste in women.
Fucking classic. Amazing. A lot of good. Yeah, well, Beast at least gets some good lines. I liked when they were fighting the Sentinels and he like gets inside of one and pilots its arms and tears them. And he's like, and this is what I consider a farewell to arms.
Yeah, he's great. I love Beast.
Never get sick of Beast. Yeah.
I think the only other one we haven't mentioned is Nightcrawler, who sort of officially joins the team in this. Love Nightcrawler.
I love that. Yeah, he's so good.
Gets, I think, the best fight scene, I was going to say, in this.
Mm-hmm.
When he's got like the multiple swords and he's fighting back to back with Wolverine. That whole sequence was incredibly animated.
It's like, I love Wolverine and Nightcrawler's dynamic. Like, in the old show, I found it very daring that they straight up do a conversation of a devoutly pious Nightcrawler and Wolverine who very unsubtly says he's an atheist. And there's this coexist sticker across their fight together. I have to admit I kind of liked. I feel like they don't play, he gives the sermon at Gambit's funeral, but he's not as, like, hyper Catholic in this show. I feel like it's not really, it's less the point of what he's got going on here. It always did strike me as really strange that, like, I feel like a lot of people probably Mandela'd Nightcrawler into being in the main cast of the old show when he was really only there once or twice, because he feels inseparable from some of that 90s 2000s zeitgeist of X-Men, I think, because of like Evolution and the movies. So it's nice that he like, hey, we put you in the intro, congratulations.
Yeah, well, he was such a good character in the original show that I guess if you're looking at expanding your cast, you're like, well, why didn't we use that guy more? And like, just due to his connection with Rogue is like, and they really do use that like throughout this show. They make him, they really tie those two together a bit more. So a great usage of a returning character, I think. I look forward to seeing more of him.
I could see something similar happening at some point with Iceman, who was, I think, only in one episode of the old show, and in the comics has come out as gay, and that's been a really inseparable part of his character since then, and I could see these writers actually doing something with that.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, and the other character I thought they might add was Colossus, who was in a couple episodes of the original show, and he's got some big like storylines in the comics that they could adapt. So I thought he was sort of prime for introduction as well. Although,
Well, we
did
know
you?
Omega Reds. Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
Omega. Oh, let's not skip over Omega Red. Sorry, I didn't mean
Uh,
to interrupt that.
you're okay. You're okay. I was just gonna say because he's awake, Colossus is maybe alerted to that. Maybe we'll see some payoff next in the next season with that.
So I think we are both huge Omega Red fans, I believe, aren't
Uh,
we?
he's like just like such a cool fucking guy. He's like the anti Captain America in that he has a Russian pirated version of the super serum, and he's an anti Wolverine in that they just thought to themselves, if Wolverine has a healing factor, this guy has a diagnose you with die factor. And I don't think they acknowledge it in the cartoon, but in the comics, he is constantly giving off basically spores that slowly kill people. He's just the most metal character to exist in comics, even though he's like, sorry,
he's just a great villain. I think I was really happy when we had that just shot of him opening his eyes in the tank again at the end, and I was like, oh
yes,
yeah.
Sickos just pumping their fists in the air.
I look forward to seeing him again. I'll tell you who else. I don't know if you noticed this. I look forward to seeing Notorious Bigot Graydon Creed again because in the final scene they were like, Graydon Creed is running for president, and I was like, oh my god, that's going to be amazing.
Oh man, both of our favorite episode of the original series surrounding him and his sheer bigoted psychosis.
Yeah. Lunatic. Like I know it's the obvious choice, but like a Graydon Creed-esque arc where he's like Trump, I think is going to be.
Oh yeah,
that's absolutely what they'll do with him, isn't it? So,
well,
I look forward to that.
Who wouldn't want to just see Sabretooth step back into frame and just like mercilessly torture a Trump figure, especially with the election we have coming up?
I look forward to seeing him again. Interestingly, Graydon Creed in the comics, he does run for president. Or was it Graydon Creed's son? I can't remember now. One of either Creed or his son runs for president and gets assassinated, and that's what Bastion uses in the comics to get the funding for his like Sentinel program. So we've done it in reverse here. So I wonder if we'll get President Graydon Creed. Like he'll win the election. And then that'll like really amplify things against the mutants. I don't know.
It would be the funniest fucking thing if Senator Kelly were incompetent enough to lose an election to Graydon Creed of all people.
That's what's gonna happen.
Like Beast would be advising him, like, all you have to do is not look psychotic. And you will look like a better choice than Graydon Creed. And Senator Kelly's gonna like shit his pants behind the podium or whatever. When Mr. Sinister drugs him or something and makes him say something horrible, and Beast just has his face in his hands. And Graydon Creed just flashes two peace signs and is like, "Cage the mutants! Yeah!" And everyone's like, "Whoa!" And Mr. Sinister's like, all according to plan.
I look forward to more of the show.
Yeah.
Tremendously excited.
Me too. It pretty much blew our expectations away in really every measure. 'Cause like I said at the start, we've come a full 360 on just like, or I guess 180. I was never good at math. On how we were like dreading this existing, and now it's like one of our favorite things of the year.
Is it 180? Yeah, if we pulled a full 360, we'd be right back where we started. And then we wouldn't be enjoying it.
Yeah.
I think it's a 180.
It didn't feature Sauron enough, so I hate it.
So you think, is that a Sauron the Dinosaur Man? Is that what you think?
Yeah. Morph turns into him, but I wanted him to be like the main character. Yeah.
I hope we never see him again.
His mutant trait is just dinosaur.
I don't want to cure cancer. I want to turn people into dinosaurs.
Only I, Sauron.
That was the third thing. It's the Hellfire Club, the Phoenix, and the Sauron. That's what I don't want to see again.
Well, Hellfire Club and Phoenix are kind of the same, so I like how you're just doubling down on like three things I don't want to see: the Hellfire Club, the Savage Lands, and the fucking Hellfire Club.
I mean, we did get the Phoenix again. Um,
Yeah.
which that was one of the few things I thought, oh, this is a bit of a cheat, isn't it? Like it just resolves everything. And it's like, okay, fine. They, to be fair,
So,
they do interesting stuff with the Phoenix Force, which doesn't necessarily mean we're going to have to sit through another fucking Dark Phoenix storyline. So
yeah.
hopefully we just go towards that interesting angle, not more Dark Phoenix crap.
Yeah.
Please, I can't watch another adaptation of the Dark Phoenix saga.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
Or as Mr. Sinister notably calls it, peacocking, which I found very funny. Like, that's what he refers to Jean becoming the Phoenix as peacocking. I thought that was a fantastic line.
Oh my god. Well, predictions will be we'll see more peacocking, more what else can we make? So, more beautiful Mr. Sinister outfits that there's no way he can practically run around in. Um
Maybe he'll get his beard
uh,
next season and his long
oh, that'd be
hair.
fun.
Give
I
him
like his beard, yeah. That'd be a fun little update. More people yelling G.
one thing that was missing.
Uh and we will likely reunite to discuss that, unless we're just so nonplussed by it because they dropped the ball. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm sure it'll be fine. In the meantime,
Cuts
yes.
to the you and I rotating in a CGI like plastic.
Are you
Where was it?
referencing
Yeah,
the original end credits? Is that what you're talking about?
yeah. Well, it's like, when when they like show like Toy Vision and show everybody's mutant powers.
Yeah.
It's like the fun little thing.
Na,
I
na,
don't know.
na, na, na,
Da-na,
na.
da-na. That's a good ending. There we go.